Rightio, let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to At the Picnic Season 3, Episode 3. We've got a wonderful guest on, Danny. We've got the superstar Ed Sadler. We probably should have had him on earlier, but, we have to get other people in, and we've been looking forward to this one. So thank you, Ed. Before we have a chat to you, we'll just quickly talk about what's happened in the last week. Alexandra, Lee Taylor, he's on fire. Another double.
Yeah, he certainly is. And full credit to him. He's kicked him home from everywhere. And he got off last season. He was flying last season before he got hurt. So it's great to see him come back with such a great bounce back. So that was really, really good. And somebody else wrote a double too. If
The
I'm
Frenchman,
not...
the man we've got on the show next week, Tommy Brassard wrote a double.
Tommy kicked home a double as well. So congratulations to him too. Tracy Johnson kicked home one as well.
Yep.
If my memory serves me right. So, yeah, it was a pretty full-on weekend. And congratulations to Alex for kicking off a Cox Plate Day meeting for the first time in who knows how long.
They did.
But it was great to see their meeting get off
to very well.
Really unweather-affected start.
And also trainer John Keane got a double, so congratulations to him. And a massive congratulations. We have a newbie in the world. We've got to say big congratulations to Benny Moffat and his partner Steph for the birth of Tommy John on the 30th of October, weighing 4.41 kilos.
Yes, and massive congratulations to them. He looks absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, good luck with the sleepless nights ahead, guys. And I hope he's settled in really well at home.
And he'll be riding in a year's time, won't he, Tommy?
Possibly.
He'll be on a horse very young, I reckon. So, well done, guys.
Of that, so
all right.
It was great to see everybody. Steph got through that safely as well. So no, that was really
very overdue as well. I think she was just sick of it being in there and wanted it out.
She certainly was. She was mortified when I told her it might be a Cup Day baby. She said, "Hell no, it's got to go." So good on her. It made it out into the world in fine form. So that was really good.
Well done.
Onwards and upwards. Welcome, Ed.
Hello, Ed.
Yeah, Danny, Paul, thank you both very much for having me. Great to be here.
Our pleasure, mate.
Great to catch up with you finally.
People that don't know you, Ed, you're a race caller and you've travelled the world a bit with your calling, and you fill in when you can at the picnic races for particular callers. Now, the first question I've got to ask you, I know the answer, maybe people don't. You come from the famous Sadler racing family. How were you related to them?
Yeah, I sort of say to people, Paul, that when racing's on both sides of your family, you can't avoid it. So obviously on Dad's side of the family, like my father is John Sadler, my brother is Tom Sadler, who rode and now trains, and then on the other side, on my mum's side of the family, Frank O'Brien, who grew up in Alexandra, and that's where he called his first ever race. He was my grandfather, and he was one of three race callers in his family. So, when you've got that as your upbringing, there's no choice in life. Racing's going to be part of things for you.
You were never going anywhere else, and it almost seems predestined that you were going to be a race caller with that, Jean Paul. So I never realised your grandfather was a race caller.
Yeah, Frank O'Brien. So, Danny, he called 20 Melbourne Cups. He called his first in 1953 and then had a break, and then called, I think, the rest of them from the mid-70s until 1989, I think. Maybe Empire Rose in 88 might have been his last Melbourne Cup. But, basically he got his start in race calling because he was from Alexandria. He went to the picnics there, and one day the race caller didn't rock up. So it was up to a teenage version of my grandfather to step up to the mark, and that's how he got his start. And a year later, he was assistant to Bert Bryant at 3AW. So that just shows you how things can work out for you.
Some things are just meant to be. That's fantastic. That's really cool.
Whereabouts are you living these days, Ed?
I'm in Richmond, Paul. So
town of the great footy team, mate.
Look, one of them. I mean, the best football team's a few kilometres down the road, Paul. But
who's that?
Carlton.
Oh, Ed.
Off that.
Ed, no, come on, man.
Look, we're being patient as a Carlton supporter.
Well, we've got it. So here we go. We've got an issue here. We've got Richmond, Carlton and Essendon in the same room.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's why
On the same show, not quite the same room.
Yeah, exactly. The same virtual room. But that's the reason why I agreed to do the show, Paul. If you said that one of you were a Collingwood supporter, there was no hope of that.
We wouldn't do that to you, Ed. We'd change teams for the night.
Very good.
Oh, that's priceless. So obviously there's quite a few of us that know you from racing.com. What's some of the other jobs that you get up to through racing.com and through all of your other avenues? You've got quite a few things on the hop, as they say.
Yeah, so racing.com is my full-time job, and working for them as a presenter and journalist. So probably a day and a bit each week on air, Danny, hosting race meetings. I also host the trial show on a Tuesday night. So that's sort of my bread and butter, and a lot of the editorial side of things, writing news stories and then going out to track work, interviewing trainers and jockeys about what they've got coming up on the weekend and all that sort of stuff. So I'm lucky because, I get paid to go to the races, to talk to racing people, to write about racing, to talk about racing. And obviously race calling's been a big part of that. I've known you, Danny, since I was a teenager. So when I was calling at the picnics. So that's still a passion, but and something that Ben Spall and I, who's a friend of all of ours and who we work together, share that passion. But by the same token, there's not a lot of calling opportunities out there. So we're both lucky that we've got other skills in the racing media game that we can still get our calling fixed. But at the same time, the full-time side of things is made up mainly of presenting and writing and interviewing.
Gives you a really broad bunch of avenues to work on. What hot gossip you got coming into the Spring Carnival this year? What are your horses that you like to follow, or stables, and what are some of your favourite meetings?
For the spring?
Yeah.
Favourite meetings. I didn't get to go there last week. I was calling at Alex, which I really enjoyed, but I think there's nothing better than Cox Plate Day, really, like the atmosphere at Mooney Valley. Flemington, there's something magical about the 4 days of the carnival there, but when you go to Cox Plate Day and there's 30,000 people in that small confined space, the amphitheatre of the valley, and when you've got the best against the best, it's extraordinary. So that's probably my favourite. Cup Day, particularly the Cup itself, is always a wonderful day. They're probably my two favourites, but I think there's something nice about every day of the Spring Carnival, and then it's nice to have the picnics back when the spring rolls around, the weather gets better, and even some of the country cups. I went to Dunkeld for the first time last year, Danny, and absolutely loved it. I thought it was sensational. So I think that's one of the magical things about the Spring Carnival, is that no matter how you want to experience it, there's something special about that experience.
And there's something for everybody out there too. I've got to admit, I'm a sucker for Cox Plate Day. The quality of racing, possibly especially when it was back on the one day, before the whole night racing thing was so big. I think one of my favourite Cox Plates was one of the years that Sunline won it. I think it was the first one that she won. And just the atmosphere there, the day was amazing. It was just, that whole amphitheatre and that many people in on top of each other with the quality of horses that race on that day. It's just spectacular.
Yeah, sensational. I mean, one of my favourite races to have been at live was a few years after Maccabi Diva's Cox Plate, and just to see that wall of 10 horses by the school together, and Glenn Boss is just sitting there like you'd like to be, I'm sure, at plenty of your rides, Daddy, just, holding his mare together, thinking whenever I hit the button, I've got this race won. It was so good to be there to see that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special. What would have to be one of your bucket list items? You've done a few things and called in a few different places and visited a few. What would be one of your other bucket list items?
How long have you got, Danny? No, there's still a lot I would like to achieve. So, I would love to, from a presenting point of view, I'd love to get to cover a metro meeting, or beyond that, a decent level metro meeting. It'd be something I'd really like to do. There's still plenty of calling I would like to do, and there's still other trainers and jockeys around the world been lucky to have interviewed so many of them, but there's still a few there that I haven't had the opportunity to do so. John Gosden in the UK is someone that I could listen to talk about racing all day long. He's on the bucket list. So, no, I've been lucky with what I've been able to do, but I'm still young and there's still plenty more I want to do.
So what's a meeting that you want to go and just spectate at?
Around the world, I guess I'd love to get to a Kentucky Derby. That looks awesome, and the way the Americans embrace and go about those big occasions, I reckon that'd be super. I'd love to get to a Grand National in the UK. That would be another great race. And a few weeks earlier, the Cheltenham Festival. They're probably the main ones off the top of my head that I can think of that I'd really, really like to go to. I haven't been to an Everest in Sydney, so seeing how that's developed has been quite extraordinary. And they're
just trying to buy us out of our classic races, the buggers.
They are, but I have to, and with some of them I'd agree, but I think they've done a great job with what they've achieved with the Everest itself. And then there's a number of other race tracks here that I haven't been to here in Victoria. I'd like to see the live hedges at Castor and all those sort of things as well too. So
that's a pretty awesome day of jumping down there at Casterton over the live hedges. It's amazing to see the horses jump those live hedges. They just jump them beautifully. It's a great spectacle to see.
With racing.com, I'm sure if you had a lovely chat to the people there, they could maybe fund you a trip to overseas and you could maybe do some interviews and stories. You never know.
Never know. I've been lucky to get the Hong Kong trip the last few international meetings and have that coming up for this December. So, why not see if one of those other ones can get on the bucket list or can, get paid
make some calls for you, Ed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're a powerful person, Paul, so I reckon you can pull a few strings there.
Oh,
Tom, his head won't fit. You can't be telling him those sorts of things. His little tweaky ears will explode.
I reckon we should start up I don't know. What do you reckon? If people were going to say who were the two nicest people working for racing.com, Danny, they'd say Ed Sadler or Ben Spall. So what do you reckon?
And how are you going to football Adam Oslansky back into that one as well?
I've never met the bloke. I've met Ed and I met Benny. So maybe we can start with these two. I can go and have a clipboard at the picnic races and say who's your favourite, and we can come back. Would you like that, Ed?
Okay.
That sounds like a good idea. I'd certainly be voting for Ben or Adam Oslansky out of that trio.
Oh, Adam, yes, Adam's a lovely fella as well. Yes.
Yes.
Hey, Adam, if you're ever watching or listening, I did ask you to come on the show and you haven't got back to me. So, hello, Adam. How are you?
We'll get hold of Adam at some stage. He's probably a little bit busy.
He's a very busy man. Quietly. I totally understand that.
So, Ed, what's probably been some of the funniest courses you've called at? Because you've called it a few of our picnic ones, so you've got to have a unique story there.
Yeah.
And have you ever owned any slow race horses?
I have owned some slow race horses. But overall, I've been pretty lucky with the ownership side of things. Like I've had two with Dad. They've both won races. I've had one. I had got roped into one with a friend in Dubai that looked like winning one race and then petered on his run on the last 100 metres and never won anything. So I've had a few slow ones and a couple of handy ones in my small ownership experience. As far as the calling side of things, the unique tracks, Alexandra's a lovely track, but it is quite challenging from a calling point of view because of the trees, because of where the marquee at the top of the straight's located, and even that tree that you've got at about the 100-metre mark,
it's in a great spot, isn't it?
Tree, but you mentioned that race that Tracy Johnson won last week, and her horse 400 to go looked no hope, Danny. And then at the top of the straight, where you can't really see them, it was obviously starting to make its move on the inside, but you had others with a chance out wider in a more visible spot. I couldn't see it when they went past the tree, and then you get to the line and where's Tracy come
There
from?
it is.
So that's the beauty of the challenge as well of calling it the picnics. Like, people think, oh, there's small fields, it's low pressure, all of that. And that's true, but because of the idiosyncrasies of each track, it makes it a bit more challenging. I called it a place called Pooncarie once.
Yep.
And that's, southern New South Wales, just a bit north of Mildura.
Yep.
And they obviously hadn't done a lot of work to the Callers Tower in recent times leading into their meeting, because the wooden floorboards were literally falling under my feet as the day progressed. So,
dear.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. And then they've also got a famous nudie race after the last of the blokes TV to enjoy. So they're some of the more unique ones I could remember going to, Danny. Yeah.
Can we just rewind there to Tracy's ride? That was a super ride because that horse knuckled at the start and she nearly went over.
Yeah, and then wasn't travelling either for a lot of the race, Paul. So when you're calling, you're kind of making mental assessments in your head, these split-second decisions. And to be honest, coming to the turn one of mine was, I don't need to worry about Tracy's horse. Yeah. It's not going to win. So, again, it was sort of a surprise on two levels to think, A, it's in with a chance, and B, where's this come from?
Yeah. And let's be honest, you're not the first person that's thought that. There's been a few other famous race callers in famous races that have thought that too.
Yeah, I won't be the first or the last, Danny. Yeah.
No, there'll be plenty more behind you. So are you, I think we said that, you're on racing.com over the carnival and you're not calling over the next few days, are you?
No, I'll be working for racing.com on 3 of the 4 days of the Flemington Carnival in an editorial role, writing stories and helping with our website content. Tomorrow night, I'll be doing the interviews for the Melbourne Cup Barrier Draw, getting reactions from trainers and jockeys about that, and then hosting Monday Ballarat for Cup Eve and Friday Hamilton from the studio. So be a busy week, but it's such a good week to be involved in any capacity. I'm not complaining in any way.
Absolutely. So have you got any horses that you're on the lookout heading into the Melbourne Cup this year?
I think Vauban's the best horse in the race. And I think we're getting 750 at the moment. So load up, punters.
Look out. Oh, geez. And remember, gamble responsibly.
Gamble responsibly for sure. And I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek, Paul, but I think he represents value in the race. He's trained by one of the best trainers in the world who, by his own admission, essentially got it wrong with the way he prepared the horse for last year's Cup. He's gone about it a completely different way this year. He's trained him differently. His form in the UK and Ireland has been very good. And I think if you take out the top few, it's a little bit of a thin Cup this year. So it's not like he's got it without a fight to face like he did this time.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a disappointment that he hasn't been able to come back at this point in time too for the connections there, because he looked like he could be a very, very good horse.
Yeah, certainly. At least we'll see him on final day, Danny.
Well, this is true. Favorite sprint race apart from the Everest. Sorry, I'm brain dead today.
Anyone would think you've been out racing, Danny.
Shut up, you.
Well, you had a good day. It was all right.
I know.
If you tune into Channel 78, that's how I am, once a week on air, Danny. So don't worry about that. Favourite sprint
but I only
race?
have to front up once a week. Oh, dear.
Look, from an Aussie point of view, the Newmarket's always a great race.
Yep.
And I think it really shows how good a horse is if they're able to carry weight against a big field in a Newmarket. Like Hayles beat 22 other horses carrying 58.5 kilos and beat Buffering, who went on to win 7 Group 1s after that. Black Caviar carried a record, or even as good as Imperatriz was. She wasn't able to carry the weight and win it this year. So it'd have to be my favourite sprint race.
Yeah, and watching them come down that Flemington Straight is pretty spectacular when you've got a full field in that race. It's unbelievable. And the the sound. For anyone that hasn't seen a sprint race coming head on towards you and being able to listen to it, it's an amazing feeling. It gets the heart racing.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the best horse you reckon you've ever seen, Ed? And I know there's different distances and all that, but overall, if in your opinion, which one would you just love to see running?
I've got two or three. I'll give you from an Aussie point of view. Winks and Black Caviar. I've probably emotionally got more of a strong connection to Black Caviar because I was here living in Melbourne throughout her career. So to sort of see it from the beginning until the very end was a real privilege. Winks, I only got to see her once because I was living overseas at the time, but I made it my business to come back and see her third Cox Plate. That's one of the best days I've ever had on a race course, to feel that roar on the atmosphere and the energy in the Valley crowd was incredible. Internationally, Golden 60. And again, it's also an emotional thing because I got to see him from the beginning of his career until the very end, a champion of Hong Kong racing who won 16 in a row, more prize money than any other horse in history's ever won. And at a time through most of his career where it was COVID, so I was one of the privileged few to get to see the horse in person for a lot of his big wins that the public weren't able to. But that turn of foot that he had, and the fact that he could beat the best horses from all around the world, and that will to win he had, I really loved watching him.
16 in a row over there, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Incredible. And working his way through the grades and against international opposition at different times. So, 16 in a row. Winks was 33. He was 16, but they were both freakish horses.
Yeah, that's impressive. So, what else have we got? Come on, Paul.
Oh, usually you're okay. What do you enjoy about race calling, Ed? Like, is it just the fact that you're there and you're involved in the actual race?
Yeah, it's that. It's the challenge of every race is a different challenge. I'm sure, Danny, as you know better than me, but a jockey's probably the same. There's no two races that are the same. So for a caller, that's exactly the same. It's the same skills you're executing. You learn the covers, you describe the race. You do your best to get the finish right. You analyse post-race. You move on to the next one. But every race is different. Every race is a challenge. You can't rest on your laurels at any point in time. And then from a more broad point of view, I think I've been lucky enough to make a career out of telling the story of a race, whether that's the written version, whether that's an interview, whether that's a broadcast host or calling the race. And I think there's nothing quite like conveying the story as it's happening right in front of you and sharing your love and passion for racing and the excitement of what you're seeing in front of you with an audience.
Yeah. Have you ever called a race, Ed, where they've crossed the line and you've called the wrong horse winning?
I don't like that question, Paul, because the answer right now is no, but I feel like I'm going to be tempting fate by saying
best
that.
Way is to say photo, isn't it? Photo, can't tell you.
I would have got photos wrong. No doubt it's photos wrong. Yeah, absolutely. But I haven't, to this point in time, called the wrong horse as far as the name of the horse. There's no mistaken identity, luckily, up until this point in my career. So long may that continue, Paul.
There's a fair few callers out there that have called the wrong horse. I've got a owner of a horse called All Too Greedy, and the amount of times, and especially when he's running New South Wales, they call him All Too Greedy. It's happened at least 3 times. Obviously, they need glasses and can't see that it's a C, not a G.
Well, if I call All Too Greedy, I'll make sure I get it right.
Make sure it's Greedy, mate. You're a good man.
I'd be no good as a caller because I can't remember a thing. So
we've got just under 10 minutes left, Danny. So
we're going to go through some races, haven't we?
We'll introduce Ed to Kermit.
Bloody hell! God help you.
He's a bit floppy today. Sit up properly, Kermit. Now, Kermit is a bit shy, Ed, so he doesn't close your mouth, Kermit. You're being rude. So he sort of, I have to talk for him, and he wants to know, how can he become a race caller? What does he need to do?
Got to practice. That's how I learn. It's just get the experience, sit up in a broadcast box with your binoculars, call the race as if you're calling to an audience, listen back, learn from there.
So at a race that you're calling, if I'm there, I can bring Kermit up into the tower with me. Is that
Bring
all
him
right?
up. I can give him a lesson, and then and hey, there's going to be
Fantastic.
better people to talk to Kermit. But yeah, can
Fantastic.
have a look.
Ed, can I just throw it out there? How do you reckon he'll go getting you up the Woolamai steps?
Yeah, that'll be a challenge.
Well, I could get up there, so I'm sure I could carry Kermit up there. I'll piggyback him. Now the thing is, because he doesn't say much, Ed, there's a problem. So what about if we teach him how to call a race, and we'll put him on a screen, and then the screen can be down at the racetrack, and then people can watch him calling the race, like in sign language. What do you reckon? You know,
might help. Portion of the audience there, Paul.
Yeah, it's an idea, isn't it? So, well, you got to meet Kermit, Ed. It's an absolute delight.
It's a privilege.
It is, mate. Not many people get to see him. Go away. He needs a bath too. He's a bit. You haven't heard the story of how I got Kermit? I'll tell you, Ed, when I see you next time in person. Danny knows it's quite funny. So
I'll look forward to that.
Why he smells of this so much.
Yeah, he does. I left him out in the rain to have a bath, but I don't think it worked.
Jesus Christ. Okay, let's get back on track for just a moment here, kids. We got a couple of meetings coming up. I don't know whether you've had a look at any of these, Ed. I've managed to have a quick glance over them this afternoon. We've got Healesville and Mansfield. Healesville's obviously on Saturday, guys.
Tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow. Yeah, we're Friday, sorry. Halloween obviously is why we didn't go to air last night. We nearly didn't make it here tonight. So anyway, great to see. We've got six races, decent sized fields, and lots of riders back again. We're welcoming one of our old crew back, Adam Rouse, to be back riding at the picnics. He went off if I remember rightly, he's been at Gay Waterhouses at Flemington, and he's been riding over the jumps and has come back to the picnics as well. So
Angela Bentz has got a ride in there as well, I think. So good to see her back.
Is back as well. And yeah, all the rest of the crew are all back as well. So big weekend. Deb and Becca got a runner. Noni Shelton's got a runner. Yeah, we've got everybody making an appearance.
Noni's got two in, I think.
Has she? I haven't got that far. I haven't had a good enough look yet. So yeah.
Don Dwyer's got quite a few in at both
Don's
meetings.
got a few in. Sean's going to have a busy weekend. Tyson Barton is kicking his old boy Main Beach around at 70 kilos. I saw Tyson at the races today, so it'd be good to see Tyson back after his footy career in the off season.
Did you say you did see him today?
Yeah, he was helping.
How's he looking? Has he lost any weight?
Well, I haven't seen him since he was last race riding, so I can't really comment on that. But he did say
he's looking good.
Back and
he's looking good, Tyson.
He's getting it down slowly, so it'll be good to see him back out there having a ride again. And obviously we got the Kirkpatricks are out and about as well. However, Craig's riding a couple of. Craig's got a couple. Rob's got a couple. Yeah.
And speaking of the Kirkpatricks, one of them just got their training license, so congratulations.
Stacey
did. So congratulations to her.
Absolutely. So yeah, big weekend of racing. If anyone's not too busy, get along. Lee Taylor's pairing up with Peter Foster again for a couple.
Yep.
So big interesting to see whether Sean can finally get on the board or whether Lee's going to kick further away.
Sean did this last year. I remember the first few meetings he battled and then he just went bang. So we'll see what happens. But good on Lee. He's kicked away. He's on 4, so good on him.
Yep. No, look, he started off last season on fire as well. He was having a good season until he got hurt. So that was really, really good to see.
Good on him. All right, you got some quick ones for Ed before we go. We've got just on 3 minutes.
Yep. Okay. Ed, favourite restaurant?
I'll go for Scottbury. I went there in Carlton recently. It was delicious. I definitely, if you like a good pasta, Danny, definitely recommend it.
Oh, nice. Probably not really good for my diet at the moment, although I'm sitting here drinking hard rated, so I don't know how good it's going anyway. And I'll be honest, I had a donut just before I came on. Well, I went to the Mel McDonald was kind enough to come and strap for me today because my horse is a bit of a terrorist, and so I sort of behave myself when I'm around other people that are not eating particularly much, so I don't
You didn't get her a donut,
debilitate
did you?
their.
But she's watching her
No,
weight.
I didn't.
Okay.
Correct. That's right. So okay, Ed, favorite drink.
Look, if we're having one together, Danny, and we're at the pub together, I'm having a Carlton Draft.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good one. Favorite holiday destination?
Phuket, Thailand, overseas, in Oz, Gold Coast.
Beautiful. Pizza or fish and chips for takeaway?
Pizza.
Fish and chips is too expensive these days, Danny.
Fair call, yeah. All right. What is your youngest memory at the races?
I remember my granddad, who I mentioned before, taking me to my first Melbourne Cup. It was 1998. And Dad had a connection to Laurie Laxon, who trained Champagne. And so I remember Pa turning to me with about 100 to run, saying Champagne's hit the front. And of course, we all know Jezebel fought back to win that cup. But that's probably my earliest racing memory.
I actually worked for Brian Jenkins in the last few years when he's been at Cranbourne and that. So yeah, he's a definite character, and yeah, I've got to see photos and stuff and pick his brains over the years too. All right, how did you meet your wife?
Yeah, that's a good question, Danny. We were set up through friend of Katie's and my cousin's wife, Alex Feehan, not long after I got back from Hong Kong. So we went on a blind date together, essentially. And yeah, she stuck with me ever since then, Daddy. So yeah, we got married earlier this year. We've got a baby on the way early next year. So
congratulations,
mate. Very fortunate, yeah.
All right,
we're
going to run out of time. Great. Ed, you're a superstar, mate. We really appreciate you coming on and finding the time in your own time. We know you're a busy man. You're doing great guns on racing.com, mate. We love it. So good on you. Thank you very much to Fran and Pete from Picnic Bet, who bring us the show every week. Thank you so much, guys. And good luck to everybody on the weekend, especially at Hillsville and Mansfield on Cup Day.
Yep, absolutely. Congratulations to everybody who's going around over the next couple of days and all their wins in the past week. And good luck. Stay safe. Happy riding. Safe betting. Thanks, Picnic Bet. Thanks heaps.